Bonjour, welcome Belgian fans to A Belgian Game. We're very happy to have you here. Okay, Tom and I are bummed. It's
Super
the
bummed,
day
man.
after. And look, we were rooting for a deep run. But I'm going to say it wasn't a huge surprise. In the games that we'd seen so far, I think for all of the Pochettino dick riders out there who were like, he's finally taught America how to play soccer, and U.S. soccer apparently given him like a contract extension already. I think the first two wins were two good halves. That's it. Turkey, fine, you play the subs. You don't learn a lot from that, except we learned that there wasn't a lot of depth in this team. And Gio Reyna may have had his only highlight against Paraguay in 10 minutes, but kind of showed why he hasn't gotten a lot of minutes in club the last couple of years. And Bosnia-Herzegovina was, again, the red card hid some stuff. They played okay. They were brave. But basically, the U.S. had not been a dominant team doing stuff that was that much different than they did under BJ Callahan when they beat Canada and Mexico to win Nations League back in 2023.
What I can't believe in this game is we got bullied in midfield, right? I mean, Belgium plays long, playing for second balls. That's like meat and potatoes for that midfield, as Tab Ramos called it, a Ferrari midfield. There was they didn't get out of first gear. Belgium winning second ball after second ball.
I don't think I heard Pulisic's name until the 27th minute. It's a game where also your stars have to be stars. Your best players have to play big. And
their number 9, who looks like he plays in the Ivy League, right? Charles de Calaterra, right? We make him look like, prime, I don't know.
Yeah, look,
Zlatan
Tim Ream, love
something.
Tim Ream. Great captain for the team, but absolutely bullied on that header for the goal. Dest was a mess. Everybody's touch looked off. The control wasn't there. Simple stuff like they couldn't switch fields. The ball would move from the outside to a center mid, who would then send it back the same way it came in. When there was acres of space on the other side, they just looked panicked and out of sync.
We just have to talk about that 57th minute or thereabouts, right? I mean, the lone eagle, Matt Freese froze. Double clutched on that. Should have just put his boot right through it. It's still 2-1. Let's grow into that second half. I mean, for me, game over.
There. And it's tough. And again, we've talked about him. We like him. He's,
But we weren't sure about him, right?
But we weren't sure about him. And Tom, you've been saying the entire way through, he hasn't really been tested. And he is inexperienced at this level. And it would not be a surprise to see a moment like that happen. It was just a shame that it happened.
Yeah, go back and listen to Lone Eagles, and it's all there, folks. As we were looking forward to this cup and that great American goalkeeping tradition.
Yeah, and look, and obviously Balogun was playing. We won't get all into the red card stuff now. It feels like that moment has passed and everyone's said enough about it. But I think it was a drag that, even though the team said it didn't affect them, it obviously affected Belgium. Trump putting his little thumb on the scale and doing what he does, which is he co-opts something that other people like and smears himself all over it. He did it with the Knicks, and then he did it with the U.S. men's team.
For weeks, it's 24 days since our first match. I think that's the math. And he just was non-existent. And then, boom.
That's it. The tournament was going on perfectly fine without him. Look, not that his presence wasn't felt. There was the referee who was not allowed into the country, the harassment of various players and federations, the whole treatment of the Iranian team. But he had stayed out of it, which was great. And I think based on the Trump dance Lukaku celebration and then the locker room celebration, Trump putting himself in the middle didn't make this a game. Belgium wasn't just playing the U.S. team. They were trying to stick it to Trump. And why give the opponent extra unless you're a loser who doesn't really know anything about sports, but claims to have been the greatest baseball player and tennis player.
He was a center back for the New York Military Academy, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean,
ball-playing center back. I'm going to just complicate the narrative. I'm sure you keep saying that, dude. That's like an earworm. Just complicate it a little bit further. I'm on the defensive here in London. All my mates are coming after me in the chat rooms. What about this? This whole Trump Infantino love fest. I'm going to say let's connect some dots, right? United States whistleblower Sepp Blatter and the House of Blatter comes tumbling down with corruption across all the confederations. There is this FIFA UEFA rivalry. So UEFA comes out, blasting what Trump did. Sepp Blatter comes out with a statement. Um, and then, we have, this Russia, Qatar, US, hosting these three World Cups. I'm just going to blame it on the Europeans, right? I mean, they credit themselves with all the, the developments and the money in football. So let's not blame the US here for Trump and for spoiling this World Cup. I think it goes back to the UEFAification of FIFA and the changes in those last three World Cups with Infantino. So
look, FIFA's dirty, full stop. Infantino loves to work with dictators, full stop. It's just a shame that the U.S. is now one of those countries with a dictator. That's not fun. So the U.S. is out, and some people are now tuning out, but soccer people are looking ahead to a more seasoned core playing in the next World Cup with Kevin Sullivan and his age group, maybe for Pochettino if he resigns. And look, I don't know if Pochettino earned a new contract for 4 years at $7 or $8 million a year based on what he just did. But sure, whatever.
I'm going to say we overpaid massively for him. And the money people, both in U.S. soccer and whatever, the PE folks who muscled up and threw some money in, not a great investment, folks.
They like a big brand name. And again, he's a terrific coach. The players do seem to like working under him. He didn't invent the game for the United States, but he was fine. And if he chooses to stick with the program, then the next 4 years are going to be continuing the dream that Pochettino laid out in a speech that he gave before the Bosnia-Herzegovina game. And it sounded a little something like this.
Oh, was it before or after the game? I thought it was after.
Maybe it was after.
Yeah. All right. Well, he gave this speech. Let's hear it. Come on, Poch.
The World Cup is a unique moment. It matters so much. It is about creating memories and enjoying them. The goal is to touch the moon. I want to touch the moon. I will not say, oh, I want to get close to the moon. No, touching the moon. That is the objective. Why not us? It is possible. It is in all our heads, And by talking about it the way we do, I think we will find a way.
I heard that. My historian ears perked up, right? I mean, it's moonshot. It's JFK. Pochettino is intentionally echoing this, American can-do spirit. We're going to make it to the moon. In this decade, we're going to put a man on the moon, that original moonshot.
Right. But Poch probably did not realize, because he has shown himself to be woefully uneducated about U.S. soccer history. I don't think he realized that he was also echoing almost 60 years of U.S. soccer spirit.
Absolutely. And we'll go back to Tom Connell of the Newark Evening News. I found this article in November of 1968. I had tucked it away in the final. U.S. soccer team shooting for place in cup finals was the headline, and the opening paragraph, and I quote, "The United States national soccer team, like this country's space program, has embarked on a mission featuring a 1970 target date. The U.S. booters will not be shooting for the moon, however, but will settle for Mexico City and a berth in the World Cup competition to be held in 2 years." End quote. So
that's U.S. soccer looking at 1970 as touching the moon.
Right. Yeah, just qualifying, right? That would be a moonwalk. So the U.S. enters World Cup qualification, right? We get by Bermuda, home and away, and then it comes down to Haiti. And we had 3 matches in Haiti in preparation for this. So we were familiar with the surroundings. So they play in Port-au-Prince, and then they play in San Diego. And we almost made it into that final qualifying round. So 1970 almost happened, and that would have been really interesting because the NASL was already, in its infancy, and it would have been really interesting to see with the World Cup if this moonshot would have been accelerated.
And then fast forward to 1998, and then New York, New Jersey Metro Stars coach Carlos Queiroz co-wrote a proposal for U.S. soccer. And you can find the PDF of this. Tom's got it. Just email him and he'll send it to you.
Yeah, primary documents. We know we love these.
The title page of the proposal was the sort of iconic photo of an Apollo astronaut standing on the moon holding like a flagpole with the American flag. But it was photoshopped, so he was also holding the World Cup trophy with a soccer ball at his feet. And the title of the proposal was, quote, "We Can Fly, Project 2010."
So yeah, Krosh and its co-author, Dan Gaspar, defined this decade or so long $50 million plan. $50 million, that seems not that expensive.
It seems like a bargain. That gets you about 5 years of Pochettino.
Exactly, that next contract. So for U.S. soccer, it said the equivalent of another Apollo lunar landing is on the horizon. Project 2010, which was derided all over the place, right? As stated by U.S. Soccer, has set a goal of playing host to and to be in the position to win the World Cup in the year 2010.
Remember when we did that? That was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was a thing for a while, but yeah, it fits this timeline, right? With the moonshot, let's shoot for something unbelievably optimistic, right?
That's it. And so what Poch had sort of, I think, unintentionally stumbled into there is that since the 1960s, the United States has been trying to develop both the infrastructure for a moonshot, instead of rockets, think coaches, leagues, academies, and also the astronauts, the players, to get us to the moon.
Yeah, people with the right stuff, right?
Yeah. And look, for our space program, for the literal moonshot, our space program got a boost from all the German scientists and engineers like Werner von Braun, who were smuggled out of Europe after World War II in Operation Paperclip. But our soccer program didn't have as clear a path forward. Despite that long soccer history that we've had, we've always been an insecure soccer nation. Tom and I have talked about this a lot, right? We're always looking at the rest of the world. We're always feeling like we don't really have a claim to the game. And so we have tended over these last 60 years to kind of lunge towards whatever country's system has been successful, whoever got to the moon most recently.
Yeah, so remember, 2015, Belgium's golden generation was showing itself off. They knock us out of that World Cup, that 2-1 with Howard making, 15, 16 saves. And then U.S. Soccer hires a Belgian consulting firm, right? And that was part of this whole thing of, the Germans, redoing their structures and their Das reboot. And we hire Jurgen Klinsmann as the coach, right? He had been, the leader of that movement at that home World Cup.
Let's hire a Dutch consultant, a Belgian consultant, a German coach. And back in 1998, France's multiracial super team, which was molded at the National Academy at Clairefontaine, won the World Cup. That was the same year that Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie were born, along with Tom's son Tommy, who played for the U.S. at the U17 World Cup.
Yeah, that 1998 birth year seemed, something must have been in the water, right? Tyler Adams in 1999, but they're identified and developed to get U.S. soccer perhaps to the moon. They lived, trained, and studied together as these young soccernauts at the IMG Academy, right? At Clairefontaine in Florida. Until U.S. soccer shifted again back to that German development academy model, right? Let's go back into the MLS academies, MLS Next now, and let's have them with the training hours. And that, I guess FC Dallas, with some players on the current squad, the YSC Academy at Philadelphia Union and Richie Graham's influence, right? They're players that have come through that. So that's now the model.
But looking at those 98s who had success under Tom's old Union Lancers teammate, Richie Williams, back when they were the junior national team, he passed him along to Tab Ramos for the next step up in the youth national program.
I remember at the end of that World Cup in Chile in 2015, hotel conversation, Tab and Christian, and I believe Tyler, right? Like they were going to get picked out of there and moved along, right? Along that development model. So Christian soon after is with the full national team, and then Tyler's with the U20s. Weston McKennie wasn't even in that team, right? He went home homesick. So he wasn't in that U17 squad, but clearly he was making a name for himself in Germany. So then, Tab gets them. They get to a quarterfinal in the U20s in 2019, and then passed along to Greg Berhalter, right? Who gets them out of the group in Qatar in 2022 before losing to the Dutch in the round of 16. That seems to be our cap right now, that round of 16, which
Yep.
probably is
But
a
look,
fair measuring stick.
but it's a lot of that same group who did very well in Gold Cup and Nations League in the last few years under Greg and BJ Callahan. And it's a lot of that same group, now 4 years older from that Dutch game, who were playing this year. Aside from
Yeah.
Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, Haji Wright was part of that group. Alex Indejas was part of that U17 national team. Luca De La Torre has been a big part of the national team pool before this World Cup. He was part of that group as well. So when Poach talked about touching the World Cup moon, his American players have already had that in their sporting DNA. Again, the guys on this team, we can crap on that last game and say they should have been better or whatever, but these guys have all been trained to be our soccer astronauts, basically since birth. So look, we wanted to recap the game a little bit, but we also wanted to use this episode to talk about the idea of moonshots because Pochettino had brought that up. And to us, it was important to look at the history of that in U.S. soccer because there is a history to it. And that's always important to us. And some people might go, who cares? Just enjoy the Pochettino ride. What does it matter that he didn't know? And we want to be clear. We have been enjoying it. We want to enjoy it. We like seeing the team play well. We want them to get better. But I think about Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, who enjoyed the Knicks championship last month. And after the championship parade, he gave a speech where he chose to call out various players and coaches from the last few decades of the team. And what he said was, this championship belongs to them too, because championships aren't just built in one season.
So true. And for us, as people who recognize and care about our soccer history, right? That's the whole thing. And it's an American game, who think it's an important part of the American story. The success of this year's U.S. national team and the future ones cannot be understood without the decades of effort to reach the moon.
Yeah, look, you may think that the Carlos Queiroz proposal, Project 2010, was stupid, or the 98, let's be like France was naive and silly, but those were the initiatives that built the players that we have been watching for the last few weeks. And our 60-plus year effort to reach the moon as a soccer country is what's building the next bunch of players we're going to see 4 years from now. So let's just appreciate that and own it and be proud of that.
Hooray! And we'll be back next week with some more added time. This World Cup may not have a U.S. team anymore, may not have a North American team anymore, but it's still an American game.